Hi, good morning. Welcome to the Covid-19 finance support for the self-employed by Enterprising You and the Growth Company. My name's Andy Mather. I'm the team leader for Enterprising You, and I'll give you a brief overview of the service that we're providing to the self-employed and gig economy in Greater Manchester over the next few slides. Following that, we've got business coach Phil Starr, who'll be running through all the Covid-19 finance support for the self-employed. And then our finance specialist, Shaheen Chowdhury, will be doing the final part of the presentation surrounding universal credit and some budgeting tips. Okay. Should last about 45 minutes. If you've got any questions, you can do that on the right-hand side and type them in. We'll try and get to them at the end. If you feel you are applicable for the Enterprising You service, my email address will be on the last slide, so you can come to me direct and we'll get a business coach to contact you. If you are using anything else other than Chrome, we've been asked to tell you there may be a 15-second delay on what you're experiencing. Okay, Gail, thank you. Okay, so the Enterprising You programme is a unique programme, a brand new pilot, and it's funded by the Department for Education and commissioned by GMCA. It's very innovative in the fact that it's never been done before in the UK, and we're looking at targeting those kinds of business, self-employed and gig economy that sometimes fall out of the business support arena. Either they're not applicable for any service or they've never tried to access it before. So we launched in February. And we're dealing with all kinds of businesses across the spectrum for GM. It is only GM that we're dealing with at the present time, and it's a 2-year contract. So when that's finished, the idea is it's been successful, and we take that live to the rest of the UK. Okay, what you will get if you come on programme with the Enterprising You, you'll get one-to-one support from a business coach, and that will be in the form of a diagnostic and a personal planner. The personal planner will look at your whole business and your whole personal circumstances. So it will take into account the running of your business and how you do that day to day. It will also take into account any support you need for health and well-being. It'll look at the finances of you and the business, and then we can put that into a personal plan and you can start accessing the specialist support. Included in that specialist support, there's going to be a 24/7 access to an integrated digital platform that you will be able to log onto that platform of your own, and you'll be able to pick and choose a whole range of training and development needs. So, for example, if you needed bookkeeping, we could tap you into a fully funded bookkeeping course. It is worth noting that it is funded by Department for Education through GMCA, so there is no cost to any business, and it's fully funded. Okay. One of the other specialist services, we've got peer-to-peer mentoring, so we can tap you into one of 160 experienced mentors who have been there and done it before. So you can build that relationship over a period of sort of 6 months with that mentor and have as many meetings as you like with them. Sheen's going to speak afterwards, but he's our personal finance specialist, and he can look at budgeting, he can look at the universal credit aspect, he can look at commercial finance, he can look at business finance with you, and that's all done over a diagnostic with you and that finance specialist. When we come out of lockdown and things are a bit more normal, we're hoping to offer over 50 co-working sites throughout Greater Manchester. Those co-working sites are put in place for people who work from home all the time, so they feel isolated. We can get you out, we can get you meeting new people, build your networks and increase your business. We've got access to support for health and wellbeing issues. This is through a portal called Health Assured. And when you log onto the portal Health Assured, you'll be able to access all kinds of support, debt finance, family law, health and wellbeing, exercise, nutrition, absolutely all sorts surrounding health and wellbeing issues. It's a fantastic portal. And again, it's all fully funded. We're working with the National Careers Service, so you can get careers information, advice and guidance. So if you are looking to get back into work, they can provide you with support for CV writing and interview techniques. We've also got advice on employment law and recruitment for anybody who's looking to take anybody on. And we also work closely with the CEDA team who provide the apprenticeships programme. As I've said before, the 24/7 access to the integrated digital platform will give you a whole range of training and development, and that can include whatever is relevant to your business. Okay, Gail, thank you. Okay, so who's eligible? Enterprise News is not sector specific, it's not age specific, we're not ERDF funded, so there's no restrictions around that. So you could have been trading 10 years and still be eligible. What we do ask is that any business that comes on board has around 6 months traction, so you've been trading around 6 months. Our target is to hit 2,500 GM residents, and they will be supported over a 2-year period. You will access is for 6 months. GM residents, the business does not have to be based in GM, but the person has to be a resident of GM to be eligible. Okay, and we're looking for all participants. You must be self-employed or working in the gig economy. Okay. Your annual income has to be below 27,000, and that income can be made up of several sectors, so savings, pensions, income from self-employed, income from paid work. And we have got a 10% discretionary for people who do really need the support but trip over that 27,000. And part of our target is the priority group. So we're looking at people who are suffering with health. We're looking at women in business, 50 plus, part-time workers, carers, and UC. And at the bottom there's just a definition of what we see the gig economy as being. So that falls into the Uber and the Deliveroo section. Okay, Gail? So the contact details, I can see we've got some people listening today. So if you do feel that you're eligible, please send me an email. It's andy.mather@growthco.uk, or you can have a look on the website to see what support we've got going on, and you can also apply through the website, speak to the inquiry team. Keep up to date with us on Twitter, LinkedIn and Facebook at Enterprising You, because there are going to be more of these webinars. Okay, that's me. I don't know whether anybody's got any questions for me at the minute, but I can try and answer them at the end. Okay, what I'd like to do now is pass you over to our business coach, who will go through all the COVID-19 finance support for the self-employed that the government and GC are offering. Okay, Phil, thanks very much.
Lovely, thank you very much, Andy. As Andy mentioned, my name's Phil Starr. I'm one of the business coaches for Enterprising You, operating largely across the Oldham, Rochdale, Tameside area. The government, as you know, have announced a raft of measures in response to an unprecedented attack on our economy. What I want to do is to go through some of the schemes available, some of the latest information, because it's obviously a very fast-moving landscape. A lot of things have now gone live, and some of the detail now is coming through. So I want to look at some of the options open to people who are running a business. So probably the most applicable to anybody who is self-employed, so doing a self-assessment tax return, would be the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme. This is for sole traders or partnerships, so not a limited company. And it's for people who have been a sole trader or in a partnership from or before April 2019. And what the government have said is that they will pay up to 80% of your monthly salary, up to a maximum of £2,500. That's based on average earnings for your business for the last 3 tax years, ending in 2019. So not the tax year 2019-2020, which has just gone. We're looking at dates before. To qualify for it, you have to be earning below £50,000 in total. So that would also include things like pension, other employment. And at least half of your income must come from self-employment. Now, if over that 3-year period, maybe 1 or 2 years, you've had more employed income, that's fine. Provided the overall average is over 50%, that's not a problem. What we've also done is we've given you the opportunity, if somebody's not filed a tax return for 2019, and you should have done, but if you haven't, they've given you until the 23rd of April to submit a late tax return. What we have said, though, is that you can't go back and change an already submitted tax return. But also, if you're submitting a late tax return in the next couple of days, they are going to scrutinise them more carefully than they may normally would have done. So we are wary that late submissions might be open to a degree of fraud and overinflating income. So do make sure that if you are submitting a late tax return, your records are up to date and you're very accurate with what you submit, because it might be called into scrutiny. The money itself, if you're eligible, it's a taxable income. So as with any earned income, it would count towards tax and national insurance as well. And that would be taken from your 2020-2021 tax return. You can continue to trade. Now, this is an important point and could be quite beneficial to self-employed people, but you do need to be careful. When you come to make a claim, you need to state that your business is still trading or would have been trading had it not been for COVID-19. You must have been trading in 2019, 2020. So if you've recently given up work, you wouldn't, self-employment rather, you wouldn't qualify. But you must state that your business has been adversely affected. So although you can carry on trading, and that's perfectly legitimate, what we said is that businesses who haven't been affected by COVID can't claim under the scheme. And we're going to take what we call a risk-based approach to compliance, which is quite a broad term, doesn't really mean much. But what we're saying is basically that if you're in a sector perhaps that might have benefited or have not been affected by COVID, you might be a commercial cleaner, food delivery, work in logistics, certain sectors that maybe have done quite well or have been able to maintain a decent level of income, then it might well be that these organisations or these companies are scrutinised to see, well, have they been affected by COVID-19? Because it's only for people who have been affected. So it's very important, if your business has been affected by COVID-19, keep a record of anything that you can show to prove it. So it might be cancelled bookings, cancelled orders, lost stock, restricted sales because of staff in isolation or off sick. Anything that you can do to show a downturn in your business, keep a record of that. Some businesses, it's quite easy to show. If you're a hairdresser or a cafe, you close down, it's quite clear. Other businesses, it might be more of a challenge. So it's certainly very important, if you are claiming, keep that data to say where you've lost the sales or lost a trading activity. In terms of what to do, you don't need to do anything. So don't contact HMRC. As you can imagine, they're busy enough as they are. They will get in touch with eligible people around the middle to the end of May. The idea being that they'll make the payments in June and they'll backdate it to March. So May's the time. Be quite mindful right now. There are a lot of scams going around, a lot of spam emails purporting to be from HMRC and other government organisations, grant providers and so forth, banks as well. Be very, very mindful if you receive a text, a Facebook message, an email, a phone call, anything that you don't normally expect to get from HMRC. It's in a different format or a different media. Be very, very mindful. It might be a scam. Best way, if you're not sure, log into your self-assessment account, go in, look at any messages you've got. HMRC won't ask you directly to put in any kind of bank details or to click on a link or to download any software. So do be mindful about that, not just for this scheme, but for any of the schemes. In terms of what it pays, they say it's 80% of your average earnings. It is subject to NI as well. And just be aware that you can claim universal credit. If you've got a low earning, so you're below the NI threshold for self-employment, you can still claim it, not a problem. But universal credit may well pay more than this scheme would. So you can get both, and that's fine. But don't hold back on an application for universal credit. If you think you'll get, if you won't get very much from here, put the application in as well. My colleague Shaheen will talk to you later about universal credit and how to go about that if you've not been familiar with that as well. So that's a support for people who are sole traders or partners who are not limited companies. The other scheme for individuals, so this would apply for businesses who employ people or somebody who is a director of a company, is the job retention scheme, otherwise known as the furlough scheme. Again, it's paid as a grant, so businesses don't need to pay this back, and it involves a process of furloughing workers. So basically, workers are put in a position whereby they don't work for the company, but they are put on hold. They can't do any work for the company as well, and that is important. HMRC will pay 80% of wages, including national insurance and pension contributions, up to £2,500 per month. Pay is backdated to the 1st of March 2020 and is now running to June 2020. This is an increase from the original March 2020 because of the extended lockdown period. Another change which was made recently to the scheme is that whereas initially you had to be on payroll by the 28th of March, sorry, 28th of February, it's now the 19th of March. So again, that has been extended. But people must be on a payroll system, RTI, so real-time information payroll system with HMRC on the 19th of March, must have a bank account as well. Obviously, the schemes around preventing redundancies. So if you are employing people and you think, well, shall I make somebody redundant? Look at the furlough scheme, because who knows what the situation is going to be at the end of COVID. You might be able to take that person back on board. The portal is now live. It went live yesterday. It has had a lot of demand, as you can imagine, and it has been widely reported. They do say to be patient. So if you can't get on, it's not that it's crashed, it's just because it is trying to deal with a hell of a lot of activity. In terms of timescale, once you put the information in, and you will need to work out things like pension and NI contributions as well. So get all your information together. But it's expected to take 6 days for the payment to be made. It is important to have all the details, national insurance number, payroll references, PAYE references, before you start the process, because there's no opportunities to save and return. So if you go on and you're missing some information, you have to start all over again. So get everything together as well. It'll just make it a bit easier. If you're a director of a company, you can furlough yourself as well. So you might be a single director or a small company. In terms of the furlough scheme, they have relaxed the wrongful trading regulations. So as a director, if you're the only director in a company, normally if you furlough yourself, it classes as wrongful trading because there's nobody in effect running the business. What we've said is we've put that on hold, and they will allow a furloughed director to carry out statutory requirements of the company. So doing statutory returns, doing accounts, that kind of thing. What you can't do as a director, if you're furloughed, is to do any trading activity. So you can't generate sales, you can't work in the same way that you could work if you were a self-employed person. So that is important. And the payment would only cover your PAYE, not any dividend or director loan repayments. Now, this is an area that might change. There has been a bit of pressure towards the government because it's seen as perhaps an area where particularly smaller companies or the single person director companies are missing out. So it is an area where keep an eye on announcements because it might be tweaked, but we shall see. Again, if you are employing people, just a note to say that statutory sick pay has been enhanced. So for any of our employees who may be off with COVID-19 or self-isolating or coming into one of the high-risk categories, statutory sick pay in that situation is backdated to day one. There is a portal being created which will allow employers to submit claims on this one, but at the minute it isn't live. But just be aware that the normal waiting time of 5 days has been waived for COVID-related illness as well. Okay, so that was the support for individuals. In terms of people who've got premises, again, a number of schemes have come up to help people there as well. And it's working around the rates sector. So what the government has said for this year, so this is April 2020 to 21, for a lot of people, rates won't be paid. So if you're a shop, a restaurant, cafe, cinema, music venues, leisure facility, if you're a guest house, a B&B, nursery on the Ofsted register, anything like that, you won't pay any rates. You don't need to do anything. Your local authority will get in touch with you directly and apply the discount. So if you do get a rates bill this year and you think that you do come under this category, contact your local authority. But otherwise, just hang fire. Don't get in touch. I mean, they are snowed under at the minute, so say it will be applied directly. So that's for this year. The other thing that they're doing is they've introduced 2 grants for people who have got premises. Now, it's important to remember you must be the ratepayer for this. So this only applies for people who have got premises and either pay rates or qualify for small business rate relief or rural rates relief. So there is a gap here. If you are subletting a property or if you're in a serviced office, then you wouldn't be eligible for this, but your landlord might be. So what are the schemes? If you qualify for small business rate relief, so you've got a property which is rateable value below £15,000, you will receive a grant of £10,000. If you've got a property that's got a rateable value of between £15,000 and £51,000, and you're in the retail, hospitality and leisure sector, so it's your bars, your clubs, your cafes, your restaurants, that kind of sector, you become eligible for a grant of £25,000. If your rateable value is over £51,000, unfortunately, there's no grant funding there, but there are loan schemes which we'll talk about in a few minutes. So that's £10,000 for a small business, £25,000 if it's a business with an RV between £15,000 and £51,000. It is a grant, so again, it's classed as income, subject to tax and national insurance as well. I say you must be the ratepayer, and you must have been the ratepayer as at March the 11th. So what you can't do, unfortunately, is put in a claim right now to, say, have rates reassessed or to create a new rate account if you are subletting a property, for instance, unfortunately. It's being administered by the local authorities individually. So every local authority has got a slightly different way of doing it. Most have written out to eligible people. Again, if you feel you're eligible and you haven't heard of your local authority, best bet is to go onto their website, have a look in terms of the process to claim. Again, always go direct to the website rather than phoning, because they are quite snowed under, as you can imagine. It's a hell of a task that we've been asked to do. So the website's normally the quickest way. You normally need your rate account, property details, and for some of the local authorities, they're asking for bank details and proof of ID. So again, it's very important to be scam aware and to make sure that if you are dealing with any kind of portals, you've gone to the right place. Always looking for .gov.uk websites for anything to do with HMRC, local authority, or any other government organisation. So that's the grants slide. Some of you won't be able to get a grant. Some of you might be disappointed. If, for instance, you've recently started self-employment in the last year, you won't be able to get the self-employment support. If you're subletting a premises, again, you won't be able to get the grant support. And it might be quite disappointing. But bearing in mind, although you haven't got the grant, some of your customers and stakeholders might have. So if you're subletting a room in a hairdresser's, you won't have got the grant, but the hairdresser that you sublet from, they probably have. So again, maybe use that to get some negotiation around a rent-free period or other kind of support. Similarly, who are your customers who are benefiting from the furlough scheme and from self-employment? Does that drive new business going forward? So yes, there are winners and losers in here. It won't cover everybody, and the Chancellor has been quite clear about that. But have a look, if you haven't benefited, who have, and does this provide an opportunity for you to grow your business in the future? So that's the grant side. Oh, and just one more I did forget, do apologise. If you're involved in the not-for-profit food delivery, so like a food bank or a community group that's sharing food, there are a couple of small grants available from a RAP, which is looks to sort of reduce waste food as well. So that's basically for community groups and not-for-profit groups that are involved in food sharing and food banks and so forth. Okay, so we've looked at grants. Grants are lovely because you don't need to pay them back. We also have options around loans. Now, obviously, if you're taking a loan, you need to ask yourself, is this the right thing to do? The biggest scheme which has come out in terms of value is, of course, the business interruption loan scheme. It's a loan scheme which is designed, again, to support businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19. You are taking a loan. So as I just mentioned, you need to ask yourself, is this the right thing to do? Ask yourself, was my business viable before COVID-19? And will it be viable after COVID-19? What you don't want to do, of course, is just store up more problems for the future. So you certainly need to ask yourself some honest questions. If you are looking to access the scheme, and it can provide up to £5 million of funding, and up to £250,000 can be unsecured as well. The government has said that under this scheme, they will pay the first 12 months interest payments on it. So you'll have no upfront costs and lower initial payments. It's being done by 40 accredited lenders. So it may well be if you've got an existing relationship with a bank, your bank is one of the lenders. You don't have to go to them, you can go to anybody. There's a full list on the British Business Bank's website. Again, if you're rejected by one, you can still go to apply elsewhere as well. It's important to say that you look at this to see, is it the right thing to do? A business plan, a cash flow forecast, looking at now, but also looking at the future is very, very important. There's been a little bit of a movement by the Chancellor expected on this one in terms of how they underwrite. It has been subject to a degree of criticism that perhaps have been a little bit too strict in terms of underwriting, and that not enough people are getting it. One of the possible solutions is that the government will underwrite any bad debt that is incurred by a bank. At the minute, they underwrite 80%. But the important thing to remember here is that although the government are underwriting the bad debt, they underwrite it to the bank, not to you. So if it goes wrong, you are still liable for the debt. So again, look at the future, business plan, cash flow forecast, and look at what the new landscape is going to be for you. Can I actually make a growth out of my business in the world post-COVID-19? Where are the opportunities? A lot of decisions to make, a lot of things to be taken into account. We have colleagues at Access to Finance within Growth Company who are finance specialists, who again can give you some support around developing your ideas and developing cash flow, and to look to see, is this the right thing to do? Again, within the Growth Company, we have business finance, so GC Business Finance. They can help businesses with loans of between £5,000 and £250,000 if you're a Manchester business, £25,000 to £100,000 if you're outside Greater Manchester. Again, this is done through the Business Interruption Loan Scheme. So provided you're in the Northwest, it has to be for business purposes and a turnover of up to £45 million. And at least half of your income is coming from trading activity as well. So it's not for like an investment company and such like. And with UK trading. So as long as you've got that, GC Business Finance can support, or of course any of the other banks as well under the scheme. Another opportunity to have a loan would be under the Startup Loan Scheme. Now, startup loans, the government-backed loan scheme, is not created specifically for COVID-19. It's been around for a number of years, but it can still support a business. So provided you're a UK business less than 2 years old, you can apply for a loan of between £500 and £25,000 per director, up to two directors, or as a sole trader. So it might be useful for a smaller business that maybe doesn't need the £5,000 under the business interruption loan. Again, you need a business plan, you need a cash flow forecast. It's a personal loan, so again, you're liable for that debt. So again, we'd always say, as with any kind of loan, don't rush into it. Business plan, cash flow forecast, look at the realistic market going forward. Where am I going to get my sales? Where have my customers gone to in the new market? Because obviously we all know that the post-COVID marketplace will be totally different. New opportunities for sure. So making sure that you're aware of those is very, very important, because as I say, it's a loan. So that's the support around the business. So we've got grants for the individual, grants for people with premises, and loans that people can access if that's the right thing to do. Again, you may well have a few questions. We can certainly look at dealing with those at the end. What I like to do now is pass over to my colleague Shaheen. As I mentioned before, universal credit is an option for people who are looking to support their personal income as well. So he's going to take you through universal credit and some of the other things you can do to help to maintain your personal finances as well. Thank you very much. Shaheen, are you live, Shaheen?
Yeah, I am.
Fantastic.
Can you see me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you see me?
Yes. I've got the first slide up for you.
Thanks, Phil. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shaheen Chowdhury, Finance Specialist for Enterprising You for Greater Manchester. Today I'll speak about universal credit. You may know that nearly more than 1 million new claims being universal claimed for this current COVID situations. And lots of people in a situation, they had to apply because they never thought they had to apply for the universal credit. The current situation forced them to apply. So I'll talk about the universal credit, and then any questions at the end of the session you can ask if it related with you. So universal credit is a part of the welfare reform, is replacing the 6 legacy benefit: child tax credit, working tax credit, income support, income-based GSA, income-based ESA, and housing benefit. So if you want to apply for any of these 6 benefits, you can claim universal credit and you can get as a one benefit. The point is that if you're receiving the legacy benefit, any one of those benefits currently, and your circumstance hasn't changed that much, or you are not planning to apply for housing benefit, you don't need to claim universal credit. The fact is that lots of claim out of the 1 million new claim, some claim the people shouldn't be making that claim, because if you are receiving the legacy benefit, you don't need to apply for universal credit unless in certain situations, because the legacy benefit pay you more than universal credit, and as soon as you apply for universal credit, your child tax credit, working tax credit will stop, and for universal credit you need to give the update every month. So this is more complex, and you'll be delayed on your payment. This is better not to apply if you are already receiving legacy benefit. For some people who are planning to apply for housing benefit, they may need to apply for universal credit because the local authority doesn't take any new housing benefit claim. So you have to apply for universal credit. Can I go for the next claim, please? So lots of benefits that are included on universal credit. For example, council tax support, career allowance, contribution-based, JSA, ESA, all the disability benefit like DLA and PIP, child benefit, social fund, statutory sick pay, industrial injuries, and bereavement benefits. One thing to mention here, if you are claiming universal credit, make sure you claim council tax support, because you have to claim separately to the local authority. If you don't claim council tax support, you may miss out council tax support. If you are in a low income and if you are claiming universal credit, you may get up to 85% of your council tax support. That means normally you would be paying like 100 or 150 pounds. With the council tax support, you may pay 18 or 26 pounds. So this is a huge difference. In the same time, if you are out of work and if you look after someone who are disabled, you can claim a career allowance. This is the same time you can claim universal credit and you can claim career allowance. If you are ill and if you're self-employed and you can't apply the statutory sick pay, because statutory sick pay only for the employed people, in that case you can apply for new style ESA. This is new style ESA is a contributory base. So if you have enough national insurance contribution for previous 2 years, you can apply new style ESA, and that you can claim alongside your universal credit. Doesn't affect your universal credit. One thing we would like to explain here, for example, Phil already mentioned that to get a self-employed support scheme, your total income need to be more than 50%. But if you, for example, someone on a self-employed are receiving £5,000 from the self-employment, but they're receiving £6,000 from universal credit, that means their total income is self-employed income is less than 50%. But they can still claim self-employed support scheme, because most of the benefit, including universal credit, they are not taxable income. So the income they mention about this, you need to get 50% of your taxable income to claim self-employed support. So you are eligible. So people who are receiving universal credit and less income from self-employment, they're still eligible to apply for self-employment support scheme. Cal, can I go for the next slide, please? Yeah. So who are eligible for the universal credit? If you are in a low income, or if you lost your job, and if you're over 18, if you're under state pensions, and if you or partner have less than 16,000 pound savings and you live in UK, you are eligible for apply for universal credit. One thing I like to mention here, people who are claiming working tax credit. The working tax credit is a conditionality that you have to work certain hours, 16 or 24 hours, depending on personal situations. People who are now working in the COVID situations, because they might have temporarily lost their job or they don't have enough job, they are still eligible. They'll be treated as they're working as the same they used to work. So you don't have to worry about. So still you receive working tax credit. And in that case, you don't have to update HMRC. You need to update only if you lost your job permanently, or if you close your business completely, then you need to inform them. Otherwise, you don't need to change them. Unless also you need to inform them after 8 weeks from the 26th of March. So any change, temporary change related to working hours, if you are claiming working tax credit, you don't need to inform. You'll be treating as previous what you were doing before. But if you have a permanent situation, for example, if you lost your job or if you've been received redundancy, then you need to inform the HMRC. Gail, can I go to the next slide, please? So how much would you get from the universal credit? Fortunately, the standard allowance for universal credit has been increased. So anyone under 25, they would get 342.72. Anyone over 25, they would get £409.89. In a couples under 25, they would get 488. In a couple, either one of them over 25, they would get 595. Next slide, please. If you get a child, you would get extra elements. So for first child, you would get £281. For the second child, you would get £235. If your child born after April 2017, you would get £235. Any child who born after 6th of April 2017, after the second child, they won't get that benefit. But if you do have any disabled child, you would get extra allowance. In the same time, you can claim up to 85% of your child care cost. That include any child extra tuitions if you are in a child minder or registered centers. Next slide, please. If you have any disability or health condition, you may have extra amounts. So if you have limited capacity to work or work-related activities, you may have £341. But if you are a new claimant, it may take a longer time, maybe 3 months to get assessed. If you are already in the previous claiming ESA, and if you moved into the universal credit, you may get it directly. One clarification here: if you have certain health conditions, you are not disabled, but you have certain health conditions that are affecting your normal working hours, or maybe certain conditionality you have to meet. That cases, you always need to discuss with your work coach, and you need to go over the health assessment, and you can have this limited capacity to work. It doesn't mean that you are capable of work. You do have some limited capacity. For example, maybe some health condition doesn't allow you to do certain type of works. And that cases, you may get extra £341 on your personal allowance with universal credit. In the same time, there's another element called minimum income floor. So if you are in the second year of self-employed, you are expected to make a minimum national wage. This is £1,245 a month. And so your universal credit, even though if you are eligible for any amount below that amount, you won't get it. You are expected to make £1,245. But if you are receiving limited capacity to work or work-related activities, you would be exempted from this minimum income floor. That means you can make your self-employed earning less than £1,200. You can get your universal tax credit personal allowance. In the same time, you can get your work-related activities amount as well. And can I have next slide, please? If you are struggling to pay your housing cost in the current situation, and if you are claiming universal credit, you may get housing cost as a housing element in your universal credit. That applied for any private rent or social housing. If you're private renting, you may not get full amount. It's based on the local housing rate. So, for example, if you are renting a house in Salford area for £800, your housing element from the universal credit may be £550 or £600. In that cases, that shortfall of incomes, you have to pay. But another option is if you are struggling to pay the amount, and if you are low income, you can apply to local authority another claim that is called DHP. DHP means discretionary housing payment. People who are struggling to pay their rent and who are in a low income, they would be eligible for that fund. That fund is completely discretionary, so they don't have to give you. But if you can write it down your current situation, most likely you may get it for minimum 6 months to up to one years. That is quite helpful. If you own, if you're renting out from the social housing, you're most likely to get full amount from the universal credit. So you won't have any shortfall unless you are affected by any other reason for housing, for bedroom tax or other reasons. Any other ways, like if you own a house or if you do have a mortgage, you won't get anything from as a housing benefit or housing element, but you do have other options. Can I go to the next slide, please? So the option is support for mortgage interest support. This is basically you would get your interest paid by the benefit. A conditionality is that you have to be on the same benefit for 39 weeks before you apply. So if you are making a new claim, you haven't claimed anything before, you may be eligible for that one. And also you would get that benefit as a loan. So you would get your interest of the mortgage paid, but you have to pay it back if you sell the house or if you change the ownership of the house. There would be an admin order on your house. So in some cases, you may have to take the options, because if you have not enough money and you can't pay your mortgage and your house may be possessed, cases, you may take the options. So you may contact your mortgage provider. You can change your mortgage to interest-only mortgage, and you can get the mortgage paid from the government support. Next slide, please. So how do you apply for the universal credit? All claims on online. So it's very simple and easy. You just need to create an account. You have to have an email account, and you have to provide all the information in one go. So basically, if you're renting out, or if you are planning to claim for the housing element, you have to provide the information for your tenancy agreement. You have to provide your income and expenditure incomes, pay slips or anything from the self-employed. If you are not in a fixed income, that cases, once you applied, you have to update your income and expenditure income and incomes every month before your assessment day. And to register on the universal credit claim, you have to provide your IDs online. So it is very straightforward. Our current situation is very easy. It's very convenient for people. So you don't have to travel or see someone to show your IDs. You can submit your IDs, for example, like a driving license, passport, or debit card, and you can register yourself. You can make a full claim online. And after the claiming online, it may take up to 6 to 8 weeks to get your money paid. And you can claim, you can ask for advance payment for your whole monthly pay amount. In that case, you would get that one as a loan, and you have to pay the money back in 10 installments. But if you want to, you have the options, ask for not to pay for 3 months. So you can ask the delay your repayment for 3 months. That's the option you do have. And that's all basically with universal credit. If you have any queries about universal credit or your complexity with your legacy benefit, you can ask anytime. You can drop a question to us, to your business coach, or direct to us. We'll try to help you. Next slide, please. The current situations, we'll talk about the budgeting and money savings. It's a big sector. So if I talk about those options, it may take another 20 slides, but I'll go basically very brief on that, how you can save the current situations and make our life more in financial control. Simply creating a budget can save £100 a year. So we just need to know where our money is going. lots of people may find out their outgoings is quite higher than income because some of the payment not maybe important, not with the priority, but they're paying, they never realize how much things they're paying on the direct debit. Most of these, like you may have a contract with any utility like Sky or anything, but they may go for a rolling over contract. So when one contract finish, they increase their amount of payment. So without you realizing, you are paying it extra amount every month. So you can cancel it without any trouble. You may have lots of direct debit you're not using in the current situation. You can stop them. Some cases maybe for the self-employed people who are paying the VAT or any other things, even though if you are allowed to cancel your payment or delay your payment, if you don't cancel your direct debit, the money will go out from your account. So you need to look out this was your priorities. If you're not claiming right benefit at the moment, you need to look into, you can just go for the online and check your entitlement. You can find out what type of benefit you are entitled to. Lots of people may be missing out. Lots of people can save £1,000s on the entitled benefit. For example, if you have a health conditions and a forms where you take regular help, support from someone else, you can claim PIP or PIP. For example, if you are working self-employed, people think, oh, if I claim benefit, I make money or I'm able to now work. But certain conditions, for example, you suffer with arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis and you can't do anything every morning for a couple of hours. So in that cases, you can claim for PIP, and that will be your normals, even though if you are working, they won't affect you anything because the disability benefit is not tested, is separated. So you can apply for that type of benefit. If you are looking after someone's in current situation, you are now making more than £120 a week, you can claim care allowance. So those type of benefit you can look into. Also, in the same time, you can switch your utilities and you can easily save money on your gas, electricities, and other utilities. And it's very simple. Nowadays, is everything regulated by Ofgem. So most of the companies listed on the U-Switch, they are reliable and they have some liability. So you don't need to worry about it. It takes only 5 minutes to save a couple of hundreds of pounds on your utility bills, honestly. And most of the gas, electricity come from the national grid. So there is no physical change. People get worried, or if I want to switch my gas, electricity, there may be disruption of my gas, electricity or anything. So most of the cases, you won't get any trouble with the disruption because all the gas, electricity come from the national grid, and you are changing your consent who you want to get the supply from. And lots of small companies, they can be a very good deal, and you can be you can use broadband, all of the Sky TV, all of the digital TVs, and you can save your monies. And also in the current situation, if you are struggling to pay for your mortgage, for your credit card bills, you can speak to your creditors. You can arrange a payment holiday, and you need to verify with you what's your priority or non-priority. For example, if you're struggling to pay your council tax, by your direct debit set up for your water bill, £50 every month. So you're paying water bill £50 a month, but you're not paying your council tax. That may be current situation for yourself for claiming benefit, £20 a month. If you don't pay that £20 a month, they may escalate to other issues. You may go back to the bailiff. You may have other consequences because this is a priority bill. So you can speak to the water companies. You can pay affordable payment plan of £10 a month, and the rest of the money you can pay towards your council tax or other priority bills. So this is where you can look into which one is your priority, which one is a non-priority, how you can manage your finance. If you were employed in certain sectors, or if you are working in certain sectors, you may be eligible to apply for charitable grant from the occupational charities. So most of the sectors where people work, for example, if you work If you work in gardening sectors, you can get access to the perennial societies. If you worked in a catering industry, you can get access to the hospitality actions. If you work anywhere, there are lots of charities out there. You just need to find out, is that related with your previous employment? Even though if you left your previous occupation a few years ago, still you can claim some form of benefit. For example, Railway Benefit Trust. If any one of your close relative family members worked for them in the past, and you can claim a benefit, a grant to them. So just look, those grants are free, so you don't have to pay them back. It's a one-off payment. Most of the people would be struggling to pay their credit card bills and that in the current situation because of the low incomes. In that cases, for self-employed people, all people, you need to contact with the business deadline, and they will support you how to manage your debt. In the current situation, if you are struggling with your debt or finance or any credit card bills, you are allowed to ask all your creditors to hold on your actions for 60 days. You can rearrange your payment plan, so that won't affect your credit history as long as you maintain a contact with them. But if you ignore them, they may affect your credit history. They may damage your access to the affordable credit. So in that cases, it's always better, whatever situation you are in, with a debt, finance, or any type of loans, please contact your creditors and ask for help, because the current situation, although lots of the insolvency law has been changed, so for example, they can enforce you for the current situations, or they can evict you from your home. But still, all the loans still the same. The creditability, all this credit scoring remains same. So you need to be careful. You need to make sure you contact your creditors at the same times. So this is all today. If you need any help, if you want any advice regarding that, you can contact direct to Andy, and you can contact our business coach, and you can direct to our hosts. Thanks for listening. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thanks, Shane. I don't think anybody's put any questions up, but like Shane's just said, all the contact details are, you should receive a link to this with any of your contacts moving forward. But please do keep your eye on the social media that we've got, because there will be more of these webinars on different subjects coming up. So if nobody has any questions, I thank you very much for attending, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks a lot, guys, for your input.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye.